becomes more and more apparent that soda actually is not that healthy for you. And because of that, the rules on how you're allowed to market and what you're allowed to say get more and more strict, particularly in marketing to children. So Coca-Cola's like, fuck it, I'm gonna find a loophole. We're just gonna spend $750 million and we're gonna buy out Columbia Pictures in 1982. And then all the movies that come out of this major production studio are all gonna feature Coca-Cola in subliminal advertisements.
Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be checking out Coke's secret recipe is the world's biggest psyop, uploaded by the Fatfiles here on YouTube, guys. Yes, what do I know about Coca-Cola? Well, obviously back in the day, Coke was made with, I believe, the cacao plant, same stuff that cocaine is made from. And I believe once that got regulated, once they stopped being able to do that, I believe they just replaced the formula with sugar, and then they added more sugar and more sugar and more sugar, because originally it just tasted like shit. Nobody wanted to drink it. I can't quite recall the story behind it, nor do I know all the details, so I'm sure we're gonna find out, hear more from the Fatfiles here today, or maybe I'm just talking up my ass, maybe I'm just ignorant, maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. I guess we'll see here today, ladies and gentlemen. If you guys enjoy the reactions, hit that like button, of course subscribe for more content from me, of course leave your recommendations down in the comments below, and without any further delay, let's leave a like ourselves. Captions are on, oops, full screen quality, we'll do 1440p, and without any further delay, guys, let's get into this video. Coke's secret recipe is the world's biggest psyop. Let's find out what it is.
You know it's going to be a good video, and I am legitimately worried about getting sued.
Oh my.
Today we're talking about the biggest, most successful psyop of all time, when a Confederate colonel got wounded on the battlefield, got addicted to morphine, so in order to overcome his morphine addiction, created a new medication made out of wine, caffeine, and cocaine that he would later market as a soft drink that would become the most popular soda of all time, Coca-Cola. I can feel
morphine
the cease and
addiction
desist already, but we're going to get into it right after word from our sponsor.
Of course, of course.
Delete me.
Whoa.
What are you wearing?
You don't like it?
I mean, it's cute. You've been watching way too much Hell on Wheels, though.
Well, I like their style, and I like the way they dress. I actually got you the
Damn.
top. So
What the hell?
Follow me.
A trifold.
What's happening right now?
Do you want to watch me churn butter or not?
What the fuck?
I gotta go. I'll be back in a fortnight.
Of course. A fortnight.
Anyways, Delete Me, biggest sponsor of the channel. You guys know the deal by now. You give them money, they make sure the data brokers on the internet are not selling your personal information. These data brokers are legally required to stop selling your information if you ask them to the right way. Unfortunately, each data broker has a different right way. And Delete Me knows all of them. Not only do they go and they get all that information taken down, they continue to monitor all of these data brokers in case they get your information again, and then they tell them to quit selling it again. Buh! You can actually do all that yourself. Buh! I mean, yeah, you could. You could also buy your own house and grow your own food, but at some point it becomes more cost and time effective to just let the professionals do their job, and plus they'll probably do a better job to begin with. I mean, here's the results they got for me. They reviewed over 18,000 listings from over 180 different data brokers and gotten over 3,000 listings removed almost every single month. And to be honest, I have absolutely no idea how long that would have taken me to do it if I decided to do it myself, but I'm 100% sure I would rather just pay Delete Me like $6 a month to do it for me. So if you're like me and you wanted to give Delete Me a try, I'm gonna have a link and a discount code down below. Let's get back to the video. All right, our story begins with John Pemberton, a man that received his medical degree at the age of 19 years old, who would later go on to be a colonel in the Civil War and receive a saber wound at the Battle of Columbus and subsequently get addicted to morphine. Being a doctor, John realized that being addicted to morphine was not ideal, so he needed to find an alternative, and the one thing he found that worked was a cola wine called Vin Mariani. Now, coca wine at this point in time was a pretty popular product. It was exactly what it sounds like. It was wine mixed with coca leaves, and coca leaves is what you derive cocaine from. I know what you're wondering. How much party powder are we putting inside of this wine? Great question. Well, Vin Mariani, for example, was approximately 7.2 milligrams of cocaine per fluid ounce, and a bottle was about 25 ounces for about a total of 180 milligrams of Colombian nose torque.
What? So, and I wonder, like, what the, how would you call it? Like, how the process goes. Is it actually, it can't just be like actual powdered cocaine. It's got to be like the actual leaf itself, the mineral leaf. Perhaps it keeps some of the same properties, but it's not like refined cocaine, right? Obviously, that we're talking about here. So I wonder like how much it actually, how high it actually would have gotten you, you know, for lack of a better word. Like, does it actually like work like that? Definitely a little bit of body numbness, you know what I'm saying, at minimum.
For about a total of 180 milligrams of Colombian nose torque.
Why don't you explain this to me like I'm 5?
Again, milligrams not super helpful in trying to figure out how much yayo they're actually putting inside the wine, so I'll put it to you this way. The devil's dandruff is not just an illegal street drug, it is a medication that is used in the medical industry for certain medical procedures, and according to the standards of those procedures, the maximum dose that you should give someone is approximately 160 milligrams. And according to Google, the average recreational dose is approximately 30 to 70 milligrams. So it's safe to say they're putting a lot of Peruvian marching powder inside of the wine. And this apparently helped John Pemberton with his morphine addiction for obvious reasons.
Yeah, so you may want to wonder how. About a little bump.
So after a while, John is like, you know what? I should make my own version of this. I should make an even better version. You know what this needs? It needs caffeine in it as well.
I will not make garbage. We will produce a chemically pure and stable product that performs as advertised.
So he essentially makes a knockoff of Vin Mariani's Coca wine,
French wine Coca,
to get caffeine in there as well. And his recipe has about 40 milligrams of caffeine and about 9 milligrams of nose beer. Coca leaves, coca, cola nuts, cola. This is where we get Coca-Cola from. So he brings Coca-Cola to market, marketing it as a medication in 1866, and within a matter of months, the county that he resides in, Fulton County out of Atlanta, passes a temperance legislation that they are going to ban alcohol, so he can no longer have wine inside of Coca-Cola, so he has to switch over and changes it to carbonated water. The problem is, taking the wine out and adding carbonated water makes the entire thing taste like crap, and nobody's gonna want to drink it, so he adds a shit ton of sugar. More. So he takes that to market and starts selling that as an over-the-counter medication to treat general exhaustion and headaches. Because apparently it's hard to have a headache when you can't feel your face. So he sells that for a couple of years and then he is diagnosed with...
See, I feel like drinking that amount of sugar would give me a headache, you know what I mean? But I guess if you can't feel, as you say, you can't feel your fucking face if you're just numb. Yeah, I guess so. Like, why take some ibuprofen when you can just fucking suckle back that coca, you know what I'm saying? Oh.
Apparently it's hard to have a headache when you can't feel your face. So he sells that for a couple of years and then he is diagnosed with an aggressive form of stomach cancer that rapidly brings about the end of his life. But right before his passing, he determines that his son does not want to take over the family business, so he sells it to a local pharmacist by the name of Asa Chandler for approximately $300, which is about 10 grand today.
That's good deal. Shit.
Now, when Asa takes over the company, they are not making a lot of...
Can you imagine back in the day buying stocks in Coca-Cola and the entire worth of the company is worth $10,000? Could you imagine how fucking wealthy your family would be? Generationally, you would be in the green. Forever, arguably. You know what I mean? What the fuck?
10 grand.
10 grand is insane.
Now, when Asa takes over the company, they are not making a lot of money. They're not selling a whole lot. That's why it was sold for such a low price. But he gets to marketing right away. He uses his pharmacy. He reaches out to all of his pharmacist buddies, gets the names and addresses of every single person that's getting any type of medication, and just starts sending them coupons for a free sample of Coca-Cola. And he does this in the hope that it would bring about a new wave of lifelong customers to Coca-Cola, and it was definitely him operating on blind hope and faith, not him being a pharmacist knowing for a fact that he was giving out coupons for free caffeine and cocaine-laced sugar water. So obviously that went great, got a whole new wave of customers, at which point he realizes, you know what, I'm gonna quit marketing this as an over-the-counter medication, and I'm gonna start marketing it as like a daily soft drink that anybody can drink just whenever they want as a refreshment. You know, a little pick-me-up.
A little bump.
Now, to be fair, this is not unique. There's like 50 other products on the shelf at this point in time, all basically the same exact thing. The difference is Asa Chandler decides that he's gonna take a bunch of his profits and he's gonna use that in marketing. There's banners, billboards, magazine ads, they're all over the place. And then since he's now a soft drink, not a medication, he doesn't actually have to market all the ingredients in his product, and he just kind of like conglomerates all of the secret recipe and labels it as Merchandise 7X, and it becomes Coca-Cola's secret recipe. Which
could you imagine? So now it's not a medication. So now it's just in the stores and you don't have to fucking list the ingredients in there, and there's actually just fucking elements of cocaine in there. Like coca leaves, like could you fucking imagine like not having to put that on the label, not even having to advertise that in your product description? That's fucking insane, dude. Like that's actually some wild shit.
Merchandise 7X, and it becomes Coca-Cola's secret recipe, which also helps in marketing because you get to say, I have a secret recipe and nobody else is like us. Everybody wants our secret recipe.
The most important ingredient of all.
And it makes your body go fucking numb.
Freshly ground.
Oh.
I warned you.
And in doing that, Coca-Cola becomes the name brand popular version of all these products, and that's the one that succeeds the most. So by the 1890s, things are going great for Coca-Cola, and then in 1895, they revolutionized marketing by coming out with a new marketing campaign known as the Coca-Cola Girls. Basically, they figured, you know what would go great with our party powder drink? Attractive females. This is one of the first cases of sex sells ever used. Now to us, this seems obvious, but this is like the first time this has ever happened. So at the time,
women
this
on
is like
advertisement,
a stroke of genius that would go on to become one of the standards of marketing for the rest of forever. And from here, they just keep going. They just keep putting more and more of their profits back into marketing. When radio becomes popular, they've got ads all over the radio. When TV becomes popular, they've got ads all over the TV. They start working with actors and famous athletes. Coca-Cola is absolutely everywhere. But then they experience kind of a setback because by the early 1900s, the United States government is really cracking down on, I'm running out of euphemisms for cocaine, nose candy. They're really cracking down on nose candy. Of course, there you go. And this, in large part, is kind of fueled by racism. There's literally a New York Times article that I'm not even going to read the title of that goes on to claim that when a black...
Hold on, I didn't catch it myself.
They're really cracking down on nose candy. And this, in large part,
I want to read it for myself. I won't say it out loud.
There's literally a New York...
They have taken to sniffing since deprived of whiskey by prohibition. Read that title. That is fucking crazy. Cocaine fiends are a new southern menace. Oh my fucking god, dude. What the fuck? I don't know if you guys can read that. I'm not going to say it out loud, but holy shit.
New York Times article that I'm not even going to read the title of that goes on to claim
it's not funny, but it kind of is. Like, cocaine, what?
He becomes impervious to bullets.
Yeah.
I'm not joking. Here's the article. So now Coca-Cola's got to take the booger sugar out of the secret recipe, but guess what? So does everybody else. So Coca-Cola isn't really affected, and they remain the dominant actor in the soft drink arena.
I am invincible.
So by the 1920s, they're crushing it. They've got the entire market on lock, and they're like, who do we target next? Let's target kids. If we get them hooked while they're young, while their brains are still malleable and squishy, we'll have lifelong customers. So by the 1920s, they start associating themselves with Santa Claus. Now, fast forward like 20 years,
this is where the
all
fucking
the kids that grew
Christmas
up on
ads come from.
And Santa Claus are now getting involved in World War II and have to get shipped off to war. And at this point in time, Coca-Cola is all over the planet, including Germany. Coca-Cola is literally Adolf Hitler's favorite drink at this point in time. But after Pearl Harbor, Germany declares war on the...
Isn't that how Fanta came to be? All the Coca-Cola plants in Germany, I can't remember if they got shut down or if they closed down shop. And so all the production capability was still there. So basically, and I'm not sure what leader did this. I don't know if Hitler himself was in charge of this or whatever was mandated by whomever. But basically they took control of those plants and they started using like the scraps and shit from the leftovers to create their own soft drink. And they created Fanta from it. And I think that's how it came to be. And that's actually pretty impressive, I have to say. Now, obviously not the reason it happened, but ingenuity, you know? Need a soft drink? People want a soft drink? Give them Fanta.
Literally Adolf Hitler's favorite drink at this point in time. But after Pearl Harbor and Germany declares war on the United States of America, obviously America is no longer going to be doing trade with Nazi Germany, so Germany can no longer get Coca-Cola. I don't know what you're thinking.
Nationalize the plants.
Plants in Germany, why can't Germany just seize the Coca-Cola plants and continue making their own version of Coca-Cola? Well, because the way this works is the raw condensed syrup that makes up Coca-Cola when added with carbonated water is all made in the United States, and then it is shipped all over the world to bottling plants where they mix it with the carbonated water and bottle it. So they actually don't know how to make the concentrated syrup because it's a secret recipe. So once they cut off the supply of concentrated syrup, they can no longer make Coca-Cola. So these bottling plants in Germany need to come up with their own version of Coca-Cola, and they don't know what they're doing, so they just start using a bunch of food waste like extra fiber and stuff left over from fruit, and they end up making a fruitier version of Coca-Cola that ends up being called Fanta, and this is where Fanta comes from. Now, back on the American front, they're starting to ration things, and one of the biggest things that gets rationed is sugar, so Coca-Cola ends up, you know, paying a bunch of politicians and then going over to these rationing boards and are like, hey, Coca-Cola is essential, you can't cut our sugar ration, and thanks to paying off politicians and also everybody loving Coca-Cola
is essential.
The government agrees, so Coca-Cola is allowed to keep putting just as much sugar into their drink as they always have, and most other brands are forced to cut back on the sugar, making Coca-Cola by far and away the best soda around.
The superior soda.
Need sugar.
But it kind of makes sense in that way, right? And that they try to market themselves essentially, because it is morale, you know what I mean, in a sense. If it's a drink that everybody enjoys, everybody's grown up on it, everybody loves it, you know, it reminds them of home to drink it, then yeah, it does make sense that you want this product to be as best quality as it can, even amongst all the rationing and whatnot. Even, you know, they very much got paid off, but it makes sense in a sense. Like, they can market it that way. It does add up.
They're not riding the white horse anymore.
And then Coca-Cola has a stroke of genius. I don't know if they intended it to work out this way, but it did. They basically come out and say, hey, we support the American troops. We're going to guarantee that any American service member, no matter where they are in the world, can get themselves a cold Coca-Cola for the same 5 cents. We are literally willing to lose money on every single soda if it means getting these guys a taste of home.
That's exactly what I mean. Yeah, literally that.
The American people love it.
Morale.
The government loves it. And Coca-Cola approaches the government and is like, hey, it's getting awfully expensive getting Coca-Cola all the way around the planet in the Pacific theater and the European theater. How would you guys feel about helping fund us build some more bottling plants out in more remote locations? So the U.S. government and taxpayers
subsidized
fund the building
Coca-Cola.
of 65 Coca-Cola bottling plants all over the world. Now, this does several things. A, it galvanizes the support of this entire generation that they now love Coca-Cola because it was the one thing they got to taste when they were away from home for 4 years fighting in World War II. And two, it exposes the rest of the world to Coca-Cola because now the American troops are drinking it and they're giving it out to all these other civilians and all these other territories that they're occupying, giving it even further reach all over the planet. Okay, if you're not picking up what I'm putting down, I'm trying to tell you that Coca-Cola has just convinced the American taxpayer to fund their global expansion, while the United States military turns into the biggest sales force on the planet. So World War II ends,
awesome.
Coca-Cola resumes control of all the bottling plants that were captured by Nazi Germany, and now they have a new popular soda known as Fanta. On top of that, they're more popular than ever. They are galvanized with the greatest generation because Coca-Cola was the official soda of World War II. Time passes. By the 1950s, 1960s, studies
very smart what they did there.
Hey,
that's insanely smart.
Caffeinated sugar water is bad for you if you're drinking 12 of these things a day. So Coca-Cola wanted to kind of pivot a little bit. Is like, okay, well, we should get into the healthier drink market. What's something healthy? Fruit juice. What's that super popular brand that was developed in World War II to help soldiers get vitamin C? Minute Maid. They buy out Minute Maid, and now they own that too. And this is where the psyop really begins, because as time passes, it becomes more and more apparent that soda actually is not that healthy for you. And because of that, the rules on how you're allowed to market and what you're allowed to say get more and more strict, particularly in marketing to children. So Coca-Cola's like, fuck it, I'm gonna find a loophole. We're just gonna spend $750 million and we're gonna buy out Columbia Pictures in 1982. And then all the movies that come out of this major production studio are all gonna feature Coca-Cola in subliminal advertisements. Okay, you think it was a coincidence that Ralph Macchio was drinking Minute Maid at breakfast with his mom, and then when he's training in the kitchen with Mr. Miyagi, he's drinking an ice cold Sprite?
That I actually have heard about that. Yeah, I actually fucking did know about that. Son of a bitch. Yeah, no, like that was 100%. Yeah, because they bought it, didn't they? Fuck. That's insane. What a clever way to get around it. Yeah, because if you buy it, if you buy the people making motion pictures, you buy these big studios, they have to put your drinks, you know, in there somewhere, product placement somewhere. And then obviously if it's a motion picture, you don't have to fucking, you know, you're not selling the product. It's a film, right? So if you just have a child now drinking it, that's fine. All good. Damn, how clever.
In the kitchen with Mr. Miyagi, he's drinking an ice cold Sprite, also a Coca-Cola product? Absolutely not. It's actually documented that Ralph Macchio was mad at how much product placement that Coca-Cola was making him do in that movie, so he tried to conceal
You'd constantly have to drink a Sprite.
And Coca-Cola and the studio made him refilm that scene and show the Sprite for a certain amount of time in that particular scene. You think it was a coincidence that Ghostbusters and Coca-Cola marketed so hard together that if you drank enough Coca-Cola, you could literally win the Ghostbusters mobile?
That's cool.
Absolutely not. The entire thing, all of the movies that came out in the 1980s out of Columbia Pictures was one giant psyop to get you to drink Coca-Cola. It was so well known in Hollywood that Clint Eastwood refused to have any Coca-Cola products in any of his movies because he was mad that they cast Ralph Macchio as the Karate Kid and not his son.
Idiots.
And the marketing doesn't just stop there, right?
Clint Eastwood.
They're targeting kids all over the place. Officially, according to their policy, they don't market to anybody under the age of 13, which you can make an argument for with movies. However, I don't think you can really make an argument for that when you're putting your branding on a bunch of toys all over the toy section, right? They're on trucks, they're on Barbie dolls, they've got game cell phone apps, they're sponsoring kids sports teams, they're all over amusement parks, they're absolutely everywhere. This psyop is so effective, it literally changed the global perception of polar bears, okay?
Yeah,
Polar bears are not friendly, cuddly animals that run around the Arctic chugging Coca-Cola.
No,
Polar bears are one of the most dangerous apex predators on the planet. And
it actually pisses me off so much how people perceive polar bears, because you always see like the one poor polar bear out there that's like dying, swimming to an iceberg or something, starving. They don't show you the like there's a lot of fucking polar bears up there, man. Like you go up north, there are a lot of fucking polar bears. There's quite a few of them, okay? And they're not nice animals. They are fucking gigantic, right? The biggest fucking bear in the world, damn near. They rival it, at least in terms of like their weight, their mass, right? And they're not friendly. They're the most aggressive fucking animal out there because they have to be. Anything that they see out there is food to them. It's calories, it's protein, right? They are not friendly. They will see you and they will fucking hunt your ass down at any cost. They don't care because you're food, right? And in an environment where there is nothing they can get their paws on, you're the easiest thing out there. Humans are a fucking delicacy, dude. No, like when we go up there, up north, when the military goes up there, man, we take our old Lee Enfields and we take Remington 870s up there with us. Yeah. And it's literally for polar bears, dude. It's literally if a polar bear wants to fuck around, like no bullshit, you're shooting a polar bear. Because they're fucking dangerous, dude. That's the nature of it. Sorry, but not sorry.
The Arctic chugging Coca-Cola. Polar bears are one of the most dangerous apex predators on the planet and one of the only animals known to actively hunt people.
Yes.
You're exaggerating. It's not that big of a deal.
It is.
No, I'm not. And I
it's a
can prove it, okay?
huge
because
deal.
In the 1980s, Coca-Cola and Pepsi were like at the pinnacle of their competition. They had just had their race to the bottom to see who could offer the product the absolute cheapest. And then a lot of people think they engaged in price fixing because they had a meeting behind closed doors, allegedly, and after that meeting, they both decided to take their products back to the normal price and just compete with normal marketing tactics. And what Pepsi did is they had the brilliant idea that they were just going to compete on taste. What they did is they had a bunch of blind taste test studies, and those studies showed that when you didn't know what the branding was, more people preferred Pepsi than any other flavor. Coca-Cola immediately fired back saying that's not true, that's a lie. They then conducted their own blind taste test studies, and holy shit, that wasn't a lie. People actually do prefer the taste of Pepsi. So Coca-Cola went ahead and developed a new flavor that outcompeted the original Coca-Cola and Pepsi in the blind taste test trials, and then they launched the new Coke. And when Coca-Cola discontinued the original Coke and had their new flavor of Coke come out that was supposed to be better in every single way, people were absolutely fucking pissed. The Psyop was so effective over generations that it had convinced people that Coca-Cola wasn't just a product that could be improved upon. No, Coca-Cola
it's the be-all, end-all.
It was a fixture in the American community. It was literally like a family relative.
You can't change that.
You can't mess with it, okay? It would be like if a scientist was like, hey, you know your cousin Jimmy? Great news. I've invented a new Jimmy that's better in every way. And you're like, that's great, but where the fuck is Jimmy? That motherfucker's not Jimmy.
I am telling you right now, that motherfucker back there is not real.
So Coca-Cola just takes an absolute beating in the marketplace, okay? People are furious that they've changed Coca-Cola. So eventually they revert back, and it's a huge PR thing. Like they finally brought Coca-Cola back and their sales absolutely skyrocket, which almost makes you wonder if the entire thing was planned. And if it was, it would be the greatest marketing ploy of all time, but we can't prove that. But what it does prove is that Coca-Cola's marketing psyop over the course of generations was so outrageously effective that they could literally give the customer a better product in every way,
and people got pissed.
Same price. And not only would the customers still prefer the original Coca-Cola, they would demand it. And you can see it again with the secret recipe. The secret recipe is not secret. It's literally on Wikipedia. Yet Coca-Cola still has this like fancy ass vault with a palm scanner and an eye reader and like smoke and red lights and mist showing off where they hide the secret recipe. Everybody knows what the secret recipe is. All you got to do is Google it. It's right there for the taking, but nobody cares because it's still Coca-Cola. You could literally open up your own soda shop today with the exact same product as Coca-Cola, and guess what? Nobody's gonna drink your shit because you're not Coca-Cola. You're not cousin Jimmy. You're not a member of the family. You haven't been psyoped into existence for the last 4 generations. Also, that's not true. You can't just recreate Coca-Cola because Coca-Cola has an exclusive deal with the Stefan Company, which is the only company allowed by the DEA to import coca leaves and de-cocainify them. So you wouldn't be allowed to get de-cocained coca leaves to put in your drink anyways. But But my
Really?
point still stands. Even if we lived in magical fairy tale land where you could get the coca leaves and you could somehow make the exact same product and somehow magically sell it for the exact same price despite Coca-Cola's overwhelming manufacturing and distribution capabilities, you would still fail outrageously for no reason other than the fact you're not Coca-Cola, because they have the greatest Psyop of all time on their side and they will always win because of it. And we know this because there's been multiple times throughout history, the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, there's always somebody coming forward saying, we found Coke's secret recipe in some old document that we found in an auction house, blah, 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 blah. And every single time Coca-Cola just comes out and says, that's not the secret recipe. Nuh-uh. Is it the recipe that makes up Coca-Cola? Yeah, it absolutely is. But it's not the secret recipe, because the secret recipe is not the chemicals and the oils and the coca leaves that Coca-Cola puts inside of their drink. The secret recipe is the marketing itself. The marketing that has gone on for generations and was so outrageously effective that it went from marketing into a psychological operation. That is the secret recipe of Coca-Cola, not the ingredients inside of it. And you want to know who knows this? Pepsi knows this, because there was a disgruntled Coca-Cola employee that got a hold of executives over at Pepsi and offered to sell them Coca-Cola's secret recipe. But Pepsi realizes that it's not what makes up Coca-Cola. It's Coca-Cola's marketing and Psyop itself that is the secret recipe. So instead of trying to buy the ingredient list that goes into Coke, they turn that motherfucker over to the FBI.
They fucking bladed the employee? That's crazy.
So yeah, in conclusion,
that's
Coca-Cola
crazy.
has the most successful marketing of all time. I don't know where the line is that separates marketing and psychological operation.
Political espionage.
Certain in saying Coca-Cola passed it a while ago.
Not even political, corporate espionage, corporate espionage, like straight up, like, but they turned that over to the FBI, really. So I wonder, like, you got to be able to take legal action against that 100%, right? Especially when you're talking about like the secret recipe and you're an employee there. I think so.
But I feel fairly certain in saying Coca-Cola passed it a while ago. Coca-Cola's marketing is so good, they literally took a Confederate colonel's recipe for his medication to help him overcome his morphine addiction and turned it into the most recognizable beverage and one of the most recognizable brands, period, on the planet. Branding that was so successful that it transcended being a product and it became its own entity, meaning that if you were to actually try to change it, you would be fundamentally changing what that product itself was. And in that, there's never been a better demonstration of how overwhelmingly effective just marketing can be. Marketing can be so effective that it is the secret recipe. Thank you for watching. Best way to support the channel is go buy some merch over at thefatelectrician.com. Quack, bang, out.
Nice. Anything at the end here? Let's see.
Time to start the stopwatch and see how long it takes for me to get a cease and desist.
Yikes. Oh no. Hopefully not. I'm sure he's fine. I'm sure he's fine. That was a great video. Wow. Yeah, I had no idea the story behind Coca-Cola, that it was that in depth, and I had no idea either that they tried to change the recipe and that people actually got like pissed off that they tried to do that. But it does make sense. Again, like the marketing, the branding around Coca-Cola, you change that at all, you lose your customer base immediately. That does make complete sense to me, because you're not competing on taste, you're competing on brand alone, right? Again, a lot of people, I hear they say they prefer Pepsi. You know, a lot of people say they prefer Coke. I'm sure it's up to taste, but I mean, like in blind taste tests, even if Coca-Cola is doing it themselves and people are still preferring Pepsi, that is kind of insane. If you don't know, damn, dude, what if you even branded like the Pepsi as like a new flavor of Coke? I wonder. People be like, oh my god, it's amazing. You know what I mean? Like, I wonder how that would work. Interesting. But yeah, if you guys enjoyed this reaction, hit that like button. Of course, subscribe for more content from me, and leave your recommendations down in the comments below. Big thank you to all of our members, all of our Hastati, our Triarii, our Principe, Dagenhart, and of course our Prefect, Hobbit. I appreciate you guys. And without any further delay, this has been Centurion, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace, guys.